Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Before I start today's show, I have exciting news for founders, CEOs, and franchise brand presidents. Join me January 14th through the 16th, 2025 in Tampa for the first ever Emerging Franchise Brands live event, an exclusive opportunity designed just for you. It's my blueprint for success at every stage of franchising, one I wish I'd had, packed with real-world solutions and strategies to solve your challenges today and prepare for those you'll face tomorrow. Space is limited, so head over to emergingfranchisebrands.com to secure your spot today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the co-founders of Supply Point, Adam and Matthew Cahill. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks for having us.
It is nice to be here, Frank. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming on. So, Adam or Matthew, I'll let you guys take it away. Why don't you share with us what exactly is Supply Point and how'd you get started?
So, what is Supply Point? Great question. Supply Point is a one-stop solutions provider for industrial America. So, to kind of dig down in that, what we're doing, Frank, we're going and talking to industrial America. So when you think of American made, you're thinking manufacturing distribution companies. Their concern and their priority is to make their product, their widget, right? So whether that company's in the chemical or food or steel industry, what Supply Point does is we're helping them package their product and also freight their product from A to B. So we're a one-stop solutions provider for industrial America. And that's what Supply Point does.
Wow. Okay. And how'd you guys get started? Matthew, I think you started this way back in 2002, right?
Yes, sir, I did. I was out selling freight programs, which is what I knew best, Frank. And I'm kind of a type A when it comes to stuff like that. When a customer entrusts me with their business, I take it seriously.
Right.
So they kind of noticed that. I was always making sure that everything was running properly. And then customers started asking me to source other things for them. First thing they asked me to do was to source pallets, which I didn't know anything about. But I quickly learned. I found out what was working and not working from them, got their shopping list of what they were looking for, went out and found a better program. And next thing I know, I'm in the pallet business. I'm selling freight programs and pallets. And every single product and every single service that we offer came about from customer request. It's because they need somebody to partner with. And that's what we learned. So that's how this whole thing got kicked off.
Interesting. See, I would have thought this is such a huge business. There would be so much competition. I would never even think to get into this business. What possessed you to think that, hey, I can do this just purely from the customer request? Like, hey, there's a gap in the market here?
Well, I didn't realize the gap in the market when I first began.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I learned it going through the motions of having a business. When I started selling the freight programs, and customers started asking me to source other things for them, what I started to understand is these folks need somebody to partner with that they can count on. Somebody that understands how important it is to get these products and services in a timely fashion. And when they realized that they had somebody that cared as much as they did about their success, then they wanted to partner with me even more. And that's how this whole business got started and how it evolved. It was the customer need that created it.
Interesting. So Matthew, give me an example. What were some of the types of companies that were your first customers?
Well, we're talking to industrial America, and our sweet spot is manufacturing and distribution. Although there's other companies that can use our services as well, because we're involved in the main lifeblood of capitalism. Industrial America uses all the things that we sell. So that's kind of how this thing all got evolved. It was listening to the customers, what they needed. And I've been selling to industrial America, Frank, my whole professional career. I was with FedEx for 16 years, selling local, national, global accounts with them. One of the greatest companies ever created. I love FedEx. A lot of great people there. I learned a lot of great things from them.
Wow. And so Adam, now you come aboard what, in 2012-ish?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I went to school, grad school actually, to become a high school social studies teacher. I love sports, love to coach, like to make a difference in people's lives and mentor. Could not find a job opening in Cincinnati, and I started to come to terms with, man, I might have to leave home. I might have to leave the nest, and that was tough, Frank. But as I started to look for just a place to go on an interview, Charlotte, North Carolina came calling, and I came down here in the 06, 07 time frame, and I started teaching and doing my thing. I taught and I loved it, Frank. I do truly miss it. And then kind of how I got into Supply Point, or how I kind of transitioned from teaching to getting into the logistics industry. Unfortunately, during the Great Recession, I never fathomed that teachers would start facing layoffs, budget cuts.
Wow.
And fortunately, I was looking over my shoulder just about every day. And, you're in a cohort with 27 other teachers, and I was fortunate to be one of 3 left standing. But I called my dad and I just said, I don't feel like I can control my own destiny. I don't feel like I'm in charge of my future. This is no way to live. I don't make a ton of money, but I'm making a difference. But I don't even know if I'll have a job tomorrow. So, Frank, in short, I had a midlife crisis at 29 years old. What do you do with your life?
Right.
I looked at a sales job. I looked at going, and I had an opportunity to teach at the university level. But I asked my dad a little bit about what he had created in Cincinnati. And I just was, kind of enamored with what he had done. And I said, tell me more about that business up there in Cincinnati. And when I started hearing more, I realized I don't want a boss at all. I want to control my own destiny, my own fate. And my dad taught me everything he could think of to tell me from 8 hours away. And we were in a different marketplace. Obviously, I had no business or sales experience, but I had my old man to rely on.
Right.
And I went out there when the school bell rang at 2:30 and knocked on some industrial companies' doors the way he taught me. And I started putting some sales together. And that's kind of where the aha moment kind of came. We have something where we can maybe duplicate this. And Frank, I'll just add one more thing, if I may.
Yeah.
It changed my livelihood, my happiness factor. It was something that it clearly changed his lives. It changed mine. And that's why we wanted the franchise. I hope I didn't steal a question for later, but it's why we wanted the franchise. It changed our lives. It's a model that works. And how often you get to say you get to work with your dad?
Sure.
I've got small children. I love them dearly, and the idea of working with my kids sounds amazing. I hope they're better behaved for me than I am for them.
That's awesome. Hey, Matthew, I got a question for you. How did you weather the storm of the Great Recession? You were only in business for about 6 years before everything kind of hit the fan.
That's a great question, Frank. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when I started this business, I was doing really well at it. I started taking off, and I thought, wow, this thing works, and this is exciting. I didn't anticipate the Great Recession, but when it happened, I had big customers that went out of business or downsized or relocated to another location far away. I had vendors that went out of business. It was scary. And to be honest with you, I felt like I was in an airplane and I was going, spinning to the ground.
Right.
And I just kept at it. I just kept talking to folks, kept knocking on the doors of industrial America, seeing what was happening. And what I started to realize is, hey, they were struggling too with the Great Recession and they needed help. So all of a sudden the plane came back up and started going in a nice direction again. But it was scary. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't.
Of course.
But I was able to navigate out of that by continuing to work and talking to the customers.
That's awesome. Matthew, that is great advice, because there are emerging founders that are listening or watching this, and we don't know when the next recession is going to happen, but there will be an economic downturn at some point. And that is fantastic advice that you just kept going. You did not quit. And I found in business of talking to hundreds of entrepreneurs, sometimes the difference between succeeding and failing is nothing more than not quitting. Like that's the difference. Sometimes you just keep going. And so I'm kind of curious, Adam,
Yes, sir.
you start looking at this. Dad is struggling. He's getting through the recession. I mean, you came in at a time where you really had to knock on a lot of doors, though. And you were dealing probably with a lot of customers that were obviously having the same struggles. They were going out of business. And how hard was it, though, to get clients during a poor economic time?
Frank, here's the thing. Our industry is just massive. You're talking about trillions upon trillions and trillions of dollars of industry. When you talk about the worldwide economy, it is predicated on the health of manufacturing and distribution. So yes, there was definitely some companies that felt the ripple effects of a recession. There is so much business out there, and you never know how well your business is going to do until you even go through things like a pandemic. We grew during a pandemic. So you're looking at the Department of Homeland Security sending out messages to industry leaders that we need to stay. We need to get to work. And so, yeah, to answer your question, Frank, there was definitely folks that struggled and companies that struggled. But have you ever been through a pandemic and gone out of business? That was a big concern of ours, right?
Sure.
And we, like I said, we grew, but it was because we were all in. We immersed ourselves, and if you're passionate and you're driven, nothing can stop that kind of individual, and because the opportunities are there still.
That's awesome. I'm curious, Matthew, as I kind of read through sort of about Supply Point, you've kind of highlighted this as it's a unique network of select trucking, freight forwarding, pallet and packaging. Not the most sexy business in the world, but
Come on, Frank.
but first of all, the best businesses that are out there are the businesses that are not the sexiest businesses. Those are the best businesses to be in. But when I read that, I'm reading between the lines, and I really think you're in the trust business is really what you're in. There's nothing more important if as your customer, than having this confidence in you and trusting you that you're going to be able to package, pallet, and ship my product. How do you help clients that you meet from the very beginning trust you?
That's a great question, and I think that's the core of what we do. These folks might start off buying pallets from you, for instance, and it might just look like a commodity, but it's not. This is something they need to conduct business. If you bring in the wrong size, or you don't bring them in at all, or the wrong quantity, that has ripple down effects and can be catastrophically expensive. When you disrupt or shut down a company's production, it's astronomically expensive for them. So they need to know that who they're partnering with. It's not just selling them pallets. They're partnering with them to be a part of their operation. And so once you gain that trust, you engage in the due diligence required to make that customer happy. Now they know they can expand the relationship with you. Let's see what else we can do with you folks that offer quality products and services at a very good price and won't let me down. So that's the whole core of Supply Point. You hit the nail right on the head.
That's super smart that you're starting out with, baby steps. You're probably not going to get all their business from the very beginning, but you're establishing the relationship. It really is a long-term relationship kind of transaction.
It is.
Yeah.
May I chime in on that real quick?
Yeah, please do.
So one thing that's kind of what I love about our model, what I think helps with ramp up, you are building those relationships. Those are residual income streams that you're creating. And then as your relationship starts to grow with that customer, you can create multiple streams of residual income, more sticky. You can get really integrated. And then there's a book by Simon Sinek's, Start With Why.
Yes.
There's the what we sell, the how we sell it. We answer a phone, we're communicative, but it's the why we sell it, right? And it's, as he kind of mentioned, these customers that we're working with, they become like friends and family.
Yep.
You can take them out for lunch, bring them breakfast, play golf with them. You develop a rapport, but they know that they can rely on you to have their back. And if their production line shuts down, they could lose their job. So they're basically tasking a Supply Point individual with a big duty there. Don't let me look bad.
Right.
My life depends on it. So it's a win-win. We got your back, but also you're growing your business within that account, and they get used to dealing with a polished professional. That's what we're teaching is we got great business owners on our team that we're really schooling up and training the heck out of to make sure that they know how to build those rapport. So I think it starts with that relationship. It's a like and trust business for sure. Right?
Yeah. You're right. Your brand promise is trust. Yeah, for sure.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Adam, let me ask you this. So we're cruising along. You start out, you're in 2012 now, and you guys opened your first franchise in 2018. But while you did kind of, you kind of tipped me off into franchising, but I would love to hear on when you guys started really talking about franchising, and when was that defining moment? Like, this is what we're going to do and why we're going to do it.
I'll get back to, that 2016, 2017, I've been in business for a couple years, my dad and I started to, we've always had a very close relationship. We're talking more about Cincinnati Reds and the sports stuff, but we hadn't really had a business relationship. And we had realized, hey, I touched on this earlier, we have duplicated the model, and more importantly, it changed my life. And I think a motivation for him and I was a couple of things. One, it's a legacy business where him and I can work together. I think he cares about my grandkids just as much as I do, and we'd love to see, us transition the business to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an opportunity to work together with your father. It changed his life. It changed mine. And let's fine tune this model. Let's really roll up our sleeves and figure out how we can duplicate this to a non-Cahill boy and start bringing in individuals in different marketplaces. And, that's what you start looking for, Frank, is who is the right franchisee? What are we offering? How can we scale and ramp these folks up? And, that's a big responsibility on us. We take that very, very serious. And so we didn't just start tomorrow and do that. We took a little bit of time to really get that, hone in on that craft. And that's why the idea kind of popped at 2016, but we didn't start until the 2018 range to start franchising. And we haven't been looking back since. We're having a lot of fun together, man.
Awesome. Were you both on board with the idea, or did one of you guys have to convince the other franchising is the way to go?
We kind of had the same brainstorm, to be honest with you, at the same time, and I can still recall it. We were on the beach drinking Coronas.
That's
how
great.
The Irish get their
great
best
meeting.
ideas.
It's true.
But we had a unique business model that I feel the customers created, which is what I felt really good about the business model. This young man duplicated it 8.5 hours away in a totally different market with no sales training, no sales experience. He and I talked on the phone a couple of times, now more than a few times, but we talked on the phone when he had situations coming up. I went down, spent a couple of days with him. He just took the business model and just ran with it. And then in just a couple of years, he blew by his old man. I mean, and
awesome.
To be honest with you, I'm still a little bitter about that. I wanted him to be good, but not that good. But he's done tremendously with the business model with no sales background at all. And that's when we realized, you know what, we got something special here.
Yeah.
And we both realized it changed our lives. We wanted to change some other lives as well.
And you've got 11 franchises open in 7 states, and you've got a couple more locations that are coming on. I'm curious, I have a feeling I know who your ideal franchise owner is based on the things we've talked about so far, but why don't one of you guys share with me who is really your ideal franchise owner? Give me that avatar, and what are the traits they need to have in order to be super successful?
I would love to tackle that one first, if that's okay. We are looking for wealth builders. We don't want entrepreneurs. We want empire builders, because there's an opportunity to really put some crazy numbers up on the board. I think there's 7-figure income potentials here. There's a lot of opportunity. So we are looking for the wealth builder. We make the joke we're allergic to overhead. There's no storefront, no machinery. You don't got to go drive a truck around and all that. But if you can build a team around you. But we're looking for those people that, really want to build an asset. We'll teach them. We'll teach them how to do all that. This is all about the franchisee. We tell them it's their journey. You're using Supply Point as the vehicle to get from A to B. And if those are, we have a very thorough sales process in the franchise development department. We've got amazing people running that show there. So we make sure people come in, they jive with that. But also, one of the most important things, do they resonate with our culture and our core values? Something that I think rubber stamp on the family-owned businesses. Treat people the way you want to be treated. We literally say our core value, the number one, is the golden rule. And it's real easy to just, talk about it, but we walk about it. We don't talk the talk, we walk the walk. And one of the first things I say to somebody when I meet them is, what is it about our culture and core values that resonates with you? And it's a good way to detect who's really interested and who's going to jive. And it helps make decisions in the long run a lot easier when you really define what your culture and core values are. But I forget your question, but yeah, that was my answer.
The ideal franchise.
The ideal franchise. Yeah.
Okay. And so give me an idea though, the traits in order to be successful. What are the things that they need to have in order to be a super successful franchise owner?
We have some amazing folks from the military ranks that are part of our team. Just amazing human beings. Love them. And these guys are polished, they're disciplined, they follow a proven model, and they understand teamwork. And that's why you should buy a franchise, is because you can participate in those kind of things. If you're not interested in those kind of things, you shouldn't buy a franchise.
Right.
Seriously. but that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that believe in themselves. They're polished, they're disciplined, they treat people the way they want to be treated, and they can follow a proven model and share with your teammates. Help your teammates grow. And these guys are fantastic. Not just the military. I don't want to just say that. We have folks that are non-military that are amazing as well. But that's why I think the military folks migrate to our system.
I think, Adam, you mentioned earlier, I think maybe it was before we started recording, but we talked about Discovery Day. You have or come to, what do you call your Discovery Day?
It's a virtual Discovery Day is what we do. But during their onboarding, their training, they do come to Charlotte for hands-on learning.
Okay. So Adam, what does training look like?
Great question. First of all, as soon as they sign, we introduce them to our franchise success team. We have a amazing group behind them that understand franchising, understand that these individuals put a hefty investment in, and we take that very seriously. So we have an onboarding specialist, and then we have a trainer that they meet on day one. They have an LMS, which is a learning management system for online training. And then very quickly, within week 1 or 2, they're already being thrown into an instructor-led training. That takes a couple weeks. Once they've graduated initial training, they very quickly go into the next level of training. So we don't let them just ride on an island. They have to work with a sales trainer. We have a business coach as well. And we do a monthly mastermind group where the entire team, all hands, come in on a monthly basis. And then, of course, I'm available. My dad's available. They have our phone numbers. We check on them. But we feel like with being a former school teacher that nobody will ever not know what they're supposed to do. But I have to give credit to an individual in the franchise community. He doesn't know who I am, but I watched him talk at an IFA conference. His name's Dave Barr. And he said something at a session, if a franchisee is struggling, you got to take responsibility and blame yourself and fix that. And number 2, the worst thing you can do as a franchisor is let your folks just sit on and rot on an island and they never hear from you. I don't think that's cool. I really think about being proactively engaged with education. So we have great people that can teach and train. We have great systems. We have great curriculums. We want to make sure they're well prepared. And I think we do a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Is your expectation when I leave training, if I'm a franchisee, am I knocking on doors or am I hiring a team of salespeople that are doing that?
That's a phenomenal question. It's a combination of everything, right? So you're going to have inbound leads. There's outbound leads. A franchisee definitely needs to be involved and engaged in their marketplace. We have options for telemarketing, in-house appointment setting. I am personally excited about having sales reps. Actually, we've been looking at some folks to add to our Cincinnati and Charlotte market. We have inside sales for us. So that's the old beauty of Supply Point, is the ability to scale out the model. We don't want people buying themselves a job, Frank. There's a crawl, walk, run with that. We understand that, building a team takes time and it's an investment, but we teach and train, hey, you're building an asset. So don't just build a really big income and then it's just you. Build a team around you that can take that thing and really take it to the next level. Because we talk about 10X and you can't do that on your own. You got to build a team. So scalability is a big deal for us too, Frank. And that you do that by hiring people like sales reps and telemarketing appointment setting.
How big is the territory?
Great question. So I'll take that one too. We're responsible with that. And the way that works is we're looking at industrial counts, right? We don't care about necessarily population. So it doesn't make sense to put somebody in Manhattan and try to find all the businesses in Manhattan, right? We are looking for the industrial area. So you're going to get 1,000 targeted business counts in your first territory. And then, of course, we like multi-unit owners. That's part of that empire building conversation we had earlier. So it's enough space to really do some damage. But if you want to take your business to that next level, getting more territory and space and putting an infrastructure with that can really take your business, off the charts.
You guys have a combination right now of single and multi-unit franchise owners?
That's correct.
How many multis do you have of the 11 franchises?
We just brought on 3 additional. So sorry. And then we've actually looked at some of our old guard. They're starting to realize, you know what? It's time to start taking this thing to the next level. They've made some good money. And we've talked to them, hey, it's nice to pocket that and take some nice trips, but also reinvest in your business. And remember, start with why. why are you here in the first place? You're building that asset. So in 7, 8, 10, 12 years from now, you're building something really big and special. So these existing franchisees are starting to look at multi-unit ownerships too. And we've had a couple do that.
That's a great sign, of course, of a successful franchise concept when people want to buy more.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very much.
Matthew, besides military guys and gals, give me some other background of some other folks. Who else is a kind of a typical franchise owner?
Well, if you have a sales background, it's helpful. It's not required, but it's helpful because they they know that they're going to bump their head a few times. They're going to hear the word no, and they're a little more sensitized to what they might experience. But we have a lot of folks in our team that don't have sales background. But what they all have in common is they're good people. They're intelligent, they're hard workers. They can communicate properly and follow a model. And like Adam, for instance, he had no sales experience. He's not military. But the guy is the reason why we franchise, because he took the model and just went to the stratosphere with it. So if you're a good person and can follow a model, you could probably do Supply Point.
Wow. Adam, I think that's quite the compliment.
Can we get the recording so I can just listen to that every night to bed?
Hey guys, what's the investment range on a franchise on a single unit?
It's under, for home-based businesses, you need to be, I shouldn't say you need to be, but we're under $200,000, Frank. And that includes obviously your franchise fee. It includes your territory, the sales training, the business coaching, all this, the know-how, the software, everything you can imagine is all included, including your first year of marketing is all in there. And it's under 200 grand. So you're looking at about 160 to 200, 198, I believe.
Okay. I would imagine technology plays a huge role in this franchise, does it not?
Well, I'm always good question. What's cool about technology, it's always evolving and growing and new things come and go, and you're always learning to adapt. And I think by immersing yourself in those concepts, you can find what fits best for you. But I'll tell you, we use a lot of technology, anything from top line CRMs to email marketing drip campaigns, I think are, imperative. You got to have technology for POS, point of sale systems, right? We have proposal systems that are utilize technology, and there's just a lot of great stuff out there. And we're always looking for more creative ways to help our franchise business owners. The more technology, I think, can be the better if you don't overdo it and you keep it, and it simplifies things, right?
Yeah. Hey guys, what do you think has been your biggest surprise since franchising this thing? 6 years now.
Well, I got to tell you that it was more difficult to get it created. To be perfectly honest, it was more difficult than I thought it would be. There were so many things that you needed to know and needed to do that we didn't realize until we were already in the boat and off. But when we navigated through all of that and realized we can't do everything ourselves and put quality people on board to help support what we're doing, one of the greatest things that I've experienced is the quality of people that I've met. The quality of people in the franchise industry in general, the people that make up our support team, just unbelievably great people. And then the franchisees that are coming in and saying, hey, I know Matt and Adam, and I think I can work with these guys. I like these guys, and I feel like I can do the Supply Point model. And after we go through that process, we end up with some really quality people that are part of our network. And I love it.
That's great.
I want to chime in on that because his answer was going to be mine. It's, him and I worked really hard to build something. And then when you start bringing in franchisees and you start to realize, wait a minute, they just had a kid, they just got married, and I'm touched by that, right? Or they, we've had people unfortunately lose loved ones, and that hurts. It truly
Sure.
take that hard. And then you have conferences. We just had a conference just a few months ago here in Charlotte. And, at one point I'm looking around at our leadership team, the franchisees, we're having pizza, having a cold pop. And I'm like, man, these people are all here and they're all just meshing. They all love each other. This is a family. And I guess I'm surprised, not in a bad way. I'm humbled and just sometimes pinch myself. Is this real? Did we really create such a special place? And we're so thankful. And there's just so much to be grateful for with what's happening here at Supply Point.
That's awesome. What about competition? In franchising specifically, do you guys have much franchise competition at all?
Haven't found anybody that's doing what we're doing.
Yeah. So
in the franchising world or elsewhere.
I didn't find any competition either. And so one of the challenges I imagine is when you're a pioneer in a sector, one of the hardest things to do is to convince people that this is actually a viable franchise opportunity. At least that's what happened to me in my world. In sports, nobody had franchised sports programs. And my big uphill battle was convincing people you could actually make money doing sports. Now, in your business, it's very obvious. We know how to make money doing it, but I would imagine you still have that uphill battle you've had to deal with being kind of the lone wolf in your sector.
It takes an education at first, when you're dealing with the consultant community, for example, what's supply point? And, it takes an education for a minute. But when you build a team, getting back to them, and they help prove the model. And it's, again, not just a Cahill boy, it's individuals, that came here and took a flyer on us and have made it. And they've made we're proud of our item 19. We don't hide anything about it. The unit economics speak for itself. It's more about, let's get the word out. If I may, in 2018 to 2020, we were starting to pick up some steam and we were doing some good things there, Frank, and our franchisees were doing pretty good. But then COVID hit. And, we were like, whoa, what's this going to do to Supply Point? And then I kind of talked about how, wait, we feel really good about our model. We're actually growing. And I think that's where we had a second aha moment where we're like, where do we want to go with this thing? We're doing okay. But we started getting a lot of we were being approached by a lot of individuals who were saying, you guys got something. They were kind of putting in our heads too, like, you can fill the map. You can really start to take this thing international. You can grow. We had a lot of investor opportunities or offers. And what we decided to do was, we don't want to grow so fast that we're house of cards. We take franchising, you hear it all the time, responsible growth. It started with building that leadership team. I'm telling you, the folks that are on our team understand what we're trying to do. And so when we bring an individual in, a franchisee in a different marketplace, it's a big deal. But we're looking to fill the map with like-minded individuals, one at a time, and it'll go, as fast as it needs to go. But we're ready. We have a unbelievable, huge, very large corporate team. We have all the infrastructure in the world to withstand it. And once we fill the map with and fill these marketplaces up, we'll go international, and we'll grow our national account programs even more. And we're very excited about the potential and future of Supply Point.
Just to add to that, when you're going through COVID, you still have to eat. You still need clothes.
Yep.
The economy still needs to run. Well, the trucking industry, the pallet industry, and the things that we're involved in are the backbone of all of that. And that's why when supply chains got turned upside down and people were struggling, we actually grew. Folks were coming to us for help. Big companies were needing help for pallets and so forth. We were alive and well and moving forward, but COVID or no COVID, the economy still needs to roll.
Matthew, one thing you could always tell prospective franchisees is that we got through a great recession and a pandemic and came out stronger on the other side. Not everybody can say that.
Thank you, Frank. That's true.
Yeah. What about in terms of the long-term vision? Adam, I heard you say, go international, but more in a short term, you've got 11 franchises that are open. You got a couple more coming on, and you have a very calculated growth strategy. How many would you like to say award in the next 12 months? I'm trying to get a sense on how fast you want to grow this thing.
Well, let's put it this way, Frank. Growth is exciting. There's an old adage, grow or die. Grow or die is truly one of our core values. Another one is dream big. Mm-hmm. So that's our goal. We want to fill the map. Right now, we have a lot of phenomenal candidates in the pipeline right now, 5 or 6 that are staring down confirmation day. We will be ready. Right now, we're averaging, quite frankly, about one and a half a month. And I think that's going to continue to grow. We're ready. We'll be ready, whether it's 3 a month or 1 a month. They're all special to us, and we're going to take them one at a time. And whether that takes 1 year or 5 years, we're gonna be responsible and aggressive as we go.
Cool. When you guys are talking to prospective franchise owners, you guys made it very well aware you don't want to just sell a franchise to anybody. What kind of advice do you give them when they're looking at it during the due diligence period?
For us specifically, or franchising in general, or owning your own business?
No, when you're talking to candidates, and not that you want to scare people away, but you want to make sure you're setting the expectations right. I'd love to hear what you tell candidates.
It's the first conversation we had at our conference. The question was, and it's funny, we asked the question, what is your why? Why are you here? Why'd you buy a Supply Point franchise location? And whether that's Supply Point, Frank, or you're owning your own business in a whole different sector industry, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So we start with why. What's the end game, right? We have to create we got to create it mentally, right? But then we have to learn how to build it physically. You know where I'm going with that.
Right.
And do something one day at a time to get better one day at a time. And so we start with why. And if you franchise, and it's not a bad thing if you don't know. And we've had individuals that actually, when we asked them that, they went, oh, I hadn't thought about that. I said, why don't you take some time, come back. There's no wrong answer, but come back and let us know what you discover about yourself. We want to hear about it. And then we're going to tell you how to use Supply Point to get there, but start with why. Figure out what drives you, and then the rest will follow. That's my advice.
Very good. Very good. Adam, I have a question for you about when you were starting out. Is there maybe a memorable piece of advice that Dad gave you when you were starting out that you remember?
Stop calling me so much, man. Figure it out.
He didn't take the advice, Frank.
He didn't.
You know, there's a lot of great advice that my dad gave me. And, one thing I think about just business in general, soak it up, immerse yourself, and take advice from anywhere and everybody can get. Follow the mentors and leaders. It's scary to start your own business at 29 years old. I don't have any money. Leave a school teaching salary to $0.
Right.
My wife's in nursing school. That was a big jump. I think a couple things. One, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking to these folks on the docks or these customers, just treat them the way you would want to be treated. Be yourself. And that sounds pretty straightforward, but you need to hear that. And the other advice he gave me was immerse yourself. If you're going to do this, go all in. If you truly want to make it and do something special, you got to go all in. We don't, and I'm going to say it, we don't, home of Cincinnati Reds, Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle. We hustle. He's ingrained that in me since day one. Don't do things half-assed. You sprint to first base on a walk.
Right.
And that's my DNA. And you'll never accuse me of not hustling. My kids will never be accused of not hustling. That's just the way you do it. So hustle and treat people the way you want to be treated. That's the best advice I think I've ever been given.
Sweet. That's great. Matthew, what do you want to add to that?
Real quick, Frank. When you're treating people the way you want to be treated, and when you're going to the extra step for your customer, they notice that. And they want to partner with you to do more business with you. When you create that first relationship, which is the hardest thing to do, get a customer that doesn't know you at all, and they're going to say, okay, and trust you to be part of our production operation here. Once you earn that trust by going the extra mile to make sure everything's working properly, now they want to do more business with you. So that's what we call expanding the footprint within the account. Mm-hmm. And that's where these other products and services that we have are so beneficial, because you may have caught in there with pallets, but now all of a sudden you might be selling them 5 or 6 more things. It all starts with that initial relationship.
Guys, if someone was interested in opening a Supply Point franchise, where would they go?
Victoria Healy is our amazing VP of sales over there at the franchise department. We're so lucky to have Victoria. So it's Victoria. She spells her name with a K in there, so I better preface. It's VICKTORIA Healy, HEALY at supplypoint.com.
And they can go to Supply
That's
Point.
on our website too.
And they can go to Supply Point with an E at the end.
That's right.
.com for franchise information as well.
That's correct. And then it'll get to Victoria that way too.
Great. All right, guys. I always finish every podcast with the franchise tip jar because the community is so generous with sharing information and giving advice. So I'd love for you to maybe both of you give me something, a tip that you can offer if there was an entrepreneur out there that wanted to franchise their company before they jumped into franchising. What would you tell them to do?
I got asked that. I was trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. I felt like we were kind of just figuring it out, Frank, and I wasn't sure where we were going to go with Supply Point. And I talked to a good friend of mine had made, and it happened to be our accountant. And I said, man, how do we take this thing to the next level? How do we really get over that hump? And he said, immerse yourself. If you're looking to get into franchising and you want to get to 100 plus units, you want to take this thing to the next level, have good, strong validation, unit economics, you got to go all in and immerse yourself. So we started going to the trade shows and the conferences, finding top talent to bring onto the leadership team. And, when you do stuff like that, you realize you can't go alone, and you build a team and you find people, experts that have been there before. Some of the team is a little bit older than me, or they got more franchise experience than me, and I'm okay. I'm not too proud to say that they're smarter than me in certain facets. So go all in. And if I may, I want to add one more little thing. I had a franchisee say to me just recently, he's a military vet. This is for you, Tommy. He said, stick to your core values and never lose sight of that. If you don't have that, you have nothing. And I heard that. And then, that's a newer gentleman who's doing really well, told me that. And even though I've been at this a minute, that really hit me. And he said, stick to your culture and your core values, or you don't have anything. And I really, that hit me here in the heart.
Great advice. That's great.
Thank you, Frank.
I guess I would add very simply, if you really believe in your business model that you created, you really think you got something special, then believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Go for it.
Beautiful advice from both of you guys. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I had a wonderful time. We could have definitely turned this into a sports episode based on our pre-recording. Maybe we'll do that one day. We'll talk Ohio sports one day.
Well, I'd love that.
Guys, thanks again for being on the show. I appreciate it. I wish you guys continued success.
Thank you so much, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank. It was an honor to be here.
Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.